You want to talk about a bad reputation? Hi, I'm a criminal. I just want to let you know that your doctor's office let me have all your medical records.
That would be pretty bad.
Yeah.
I just called up and they gave them to me.
And by the way, the return address is your doctor's office. So, go ahead.
Help me with hip hop. Let's get it right. Protect your patients day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with hip hop. Let's get it right.
So today we're going to be talking about healthcare's latest cyber warnings. And you have titled this one, Shore Up or Throw Up. So that's the interesting title. We will go into the things that need to be shored up and the things that will make you throw up.
Yep.
Particularly if you become the victim of some of these. So it's going to be an interesting show for sure. So let's start with the easy stuff. So there was a HIPAA settlement that came out.
Yes.
OCR dropped one last week. And there's some things in here that's like, come on, y'all, like this, you shouldn't have this type of failure.
Yeah, this is like our own version of, come on, man.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen the ones that they always have. You didn't have an accurate and thorough risk analysis. This is like every time. You don't have that. Of course, if you don't have that, you can't have a risk management plan because it's built off of that. Yeah. So failure to train, the whole 9 yards. But we'll get into it. So the juicy part that everybody looks at, $250,000 settlement and 2-year corrective action plan. So let's talk about what happened and to whom it happened.
Yeah, so this is a Syracuse ASC, and they do ENT and ophthalmology kind of. So it's got to be a couple of different groups because ENT and is your head.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, shoulders up area. But October 14th, 2021, so these are more recent, they got a breach notification reporting that in March, they had somebody that gained access to the network, and I think it was also ransomware. And 24,891 individuals, current and former patients, were impacted. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So March 14th through March 31st, so they were in there a while. And then they probably just dropped the bomb and left. At that point, that's when they had boom. Boom is at the end.
Mm-hmm.
You're still left to boom until you find out.
It is interesting, the time frame, because there's been more than one I've seen recently where the time frame that they got in and the time frame they set off the bomb is 2 weeks, almost exactly 2 weeks. In some cases, it is exactly 2 weeks. And this is the same thing. It's a 2-week period. And it tells me once they're in, you've got about 2 weeks before they're going to set off that ransomware bomb. And of course, not all cases, but I am seeing a pattern here.
Yeah. And during that 2 weeks, they're still going to steal the data.
Oh, yeah.
You got that to deal with and all of those things. But the sheer blast radius, if you can stop them and catch them during the actual act of breaking in and trying to get to the data and the reconnaissance they do to find it all, that's as good as it's going to get if they get in, right?
Yep.
So that's the objective. And, I'm thankful of our clients that have been attacked, that they've been able to do that. The most part we'll go with, for the most part, you would expect from March and the bomb, March 31st. So April, May-ish, maybe even you could probably talk your way into June, but October.
Right. Yeah. This is one of those things where when I see it, won't speak for you, but when I see it, I'm already like, I don't know that you really understand a lot of what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Because the easiest thing is to understand when something happens, what is my time frame to notify? That's the easy part. Even if you don't have all the information, you still know I've only got 60 days to notify HHS, or without unreasonable delay, I've got to do something.
Yeah. It seems pretty straightforward.
You would think.
Yeah. So, I mean, go ahead. You can notify HHS as soon as you know you're going to have to notify. You don't have to know how many. You just know you're going to have to notify. So go ahead and notify them. And then they're going to work with you. They're going to call you. You're going to be able to, so you're not going to be in this mess. I mean, $250,000 in a 2-year cap. I mean,
yeah. Well, I think what most people probably do is they're like, yes, we have a problem, but we don't really want to tell anybody right now because we don't want them to know that we haven't done the risk analysis and we haven't done a risk management plan. But all that's going to come out anyway. Like you're not going to hide it. You're not going to go to Donna and say, can you backdate all that stuff to a couple years ago?
No.
So it's just go ahead and call and get as many people in to help you as possible.
Yeah. Often they're trying to figure out how can we reduce the notification, the number of patients. How can we do? No, it's too late. You can't reduce the damage that opportunity, that chance passed, and you've lost it. And so that often, as with these resolution agreements, there's other kinds of violations that they could put in there. That's a long list, but they narrow it down to just these 3 to do the settlement at where they're at. And that's the failed to conduct an accurate and thorough risk analysis and failed to provide notification to the individuals in a timely manner and failed to notify the secretary in a timely manner.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a little low-hanging fruit. The notifications is technically, now, I know in some cases it's harder to get the list of patients. But I have seen where OCR kind of leans towards, look, if it's that hard to get the list, then just notify everybody on your list.
Right. Yep.
And in these kind of attacks, you might as well. Now I've had them where they got to a single file server that just had it didn't have EMRs, it didn't have any of that stuff. Or it got into the emails. Now you've got a whole different ballgame. You've got to, sort that out. You don't want to notify everybody because there might, instead of 24,000, you might be doing 3,000. And there's a distinct difference. And those are hard to find. But if you've already notified HHS and you're letting them know that, what's going on along the way, it's going to be much better for you.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Nothing screams I'm not paying attention to what it is I'm supposed to do than not even managing the low-hanging fruit.
Yep.
So our new OCR director, Paula Stannard, we have our obligatory quote, but it's not that different than what we've normally seen. So hit it, David.
Yep. So she says, conducting a thorough HIPAA compliant risk analysis. And I wonder why she said it that way. Makes me wonder if they had something. Just, somebody came in and ran a thing.
Ran a scan.
Here you go. Yeah. Okay. So conducting a thorough HIPAA compliant risk analysis and developing and implementing risk management measures to address any identified risks and vulnerabilities is even more necessary as sophisticated cyber attacks increase. HIPAA covered entities and business associates make themselves soft targets for cyber attacks if they fail to implement the HIPAA security rule requirements. I agree.
Yeah. It's pretty easy and straightforward.
Yeah.
And so it gets back to doing the proper SRA. And we've done episodes on it. And, go back and I don't remember what that episode is. But we've talked about it many times. and went through it shortly after they said they were going to do this enforcement initiative, which, they haven't slowed down on at all. So it should be getting people's attention to make sure, if you haven't done it properly in the past, now would be the time, because now's the time that you can, CYA all the way by going ahead and getting it done properly. And
so let me ask you this. What if you think you have an accurate and thorough, risk analysis? Is there, like, for example, does Cardin come in and say, we will take a glance, or as maybe you like to say, we'll take a gander. We'll take a look at what you have briefly, just to let you know if it's gonna, float or not, and then go from there. Do you do stuff like that? So you're not doing a risk analysis. You're more like looking at it and saying, okay, within 15 minutes, I can tell whether or not this is going to fly.
Well, most people are going to assume that I'm never going to say it's a good one, right? Oh, you're good. That'll be the next thing. So I don't even want to go down that path, right?
I got you.
Of course you're not going to. But when I open one up, and the very first sentence says that they should conduct a risk analysis, but the thing they're handing me, they say is a risk analysis, but the recommendation is to conduct a risk analysis, and it's like 5 pages. I'm like, there you go. Right away, it's not. And so what we try to do is say, go pull it. Oh, I'm not going to look at it. Go pull what you have. If all it does is list the HIPAA requirements and say whether you're doing them, it's not a risk analysis. That's a gap analysis. If all it is a scan of your network and a list of vulnerabilities, and then your IT company saying they're going to fix them, that is not a risk analysis. That's a vulnerability scan. If it's any kind of cybersecurity, just a scan that's done by IT people and that's it, it is not a risk analysis. So there's the simplest way to put it. And if you don't have a detailed inventory with what you think is a risk analysis, and a detailed inventory that is an inventory not just of your computers, but does it have your network equipment, your medical devices? Does it have all of the software you use, including your cloud applications? Does it look at the security on your EHR and document how you're securing it? Does it look at your policies and procedures? Do you have a policy? Yes. Can you prove you're following it? What?
That's a great point, because I often run into people that are like, well, we've got all the cybersecurity stuff. I'm like, great, but can you prove it? And then they look at you kind of crazy. Even better, can you prove it for the past 3 years? What?
How about 6?
Yeah. It's like, well, if you can't do 3, you can't do 6.
Yeah. Well, often they'll be like, yeah, we got it. But when you start with the specifics, that's the key, is asking those specific questions of, well, does it have this? Does it have that? Does it have this? And then you have people going, well, we've never had anybody fail an audit. You've got what's good.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. We don't need to go into that. That just sends us both.
Maybe we'll do an episode on how to do a self-audit of your SRA.
I can tell you exactly how to do it. We can go pull the information. You go do it. Great. I can give you, go step by step on your own. Because, we do those. We used to have people go, well, we just want you to do like what the OCR audit is. Great. We'll do like a mock audit. We won't do like the full audit protocol that they publish. We will only do portions of it. And people are like, yes. And then they have nothing. And they're like, well, we thought we'd do a lot better. And it's like, that's why we told you should just have us do an assessment. Because now you got to pay for us to do an assessment too.
Yep. Well, okay. We'll put that on our list.
Oh yeah. You want to do it? Go ahead. But really, the thing that everybody does wrong are these SRAs, and go look at them. And it doesn't matter what size you are. You can't just say, well, we're small. We don't need to do that. No, there's no such thing. You know, I know everybody believes that, but if you will get your inventories in line and maintain them,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty straightforward how to keep going. But you got to get your inventories in line, maintain those, actually have the policies and procedures, and prove you're following them, because that's the second piece. It's like, I have all these threats and vulnerabilities. Here's the risk I face. What am I doing to mitigate that risk? Then that's, my risk analysis last piece. And I have to have both. I can't just say, here's all the things I'm doing. I have no idea why. Somebody told me I should do them. That's why I'm doing them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, anyway, there you go.
All right. Let's go to your favorite part now.
Well, I was just reminded of it. So here's the story, is that years ago, somebody was introducing me, and I tell this now a lot of times when I'm doing a presentation, depending on, the audience and stuff. And so I tell the story. They were introduced to me and said, if you've never heard Donna talk, you're in for a lot of fun. You're going to really learn a lot, but you are going to want to vomit when she's done. And I'm like, I am so proud of that. I thought it was great. So I tell the story, but then it brings me to the second story where I told it. And then towards the end, I get to a section and I'm like, so now here's the things that you should really worry about happening next. And one of the things is where you have the criminals steal the patient data, and then they start notifying your patients or contacting your patients and saying they're you. And the guy in the back of the room threw his pencil down, slid back, and goes, there's the vomit part right there. Right there's the vomit part. And so these articles that we're covering now, one's an important thing we want to make sure everybody's aware of. But then there was a follow-up article to it and a mention of a similar scenario. There's the vomit part. And then there was this other vomit part that I'd kind of been playing around with for IT, and I put that in there just for David so that
Yeah.
he can explain it. So you want to talk about the FBI and HHS joint announcement about interlock, right? It's interlock is what this one is. So you want to catch us up on that, Mr. Sims?
Yeah. So this is a thing that's going around, and it's, basically the technique is that they social engineer the victim, and then they deploy remote access Trojans or rats or whatever you want to call it. But basically they're able to get in remotely. And then from there, they can move laterally through the network. They can, and more importantly, what they're doing is employing double extortion, where they will, exfiltrate the data. So now they got it. And then they lock down the data that you have. So it's like, you got to pay to get access to your data again. And oh, by the way, you got to pay something else because we still have the data that we took from you.
Yeah.
But these folks are taking it, one step further. Right.
Yeah, Kettering Health faced a similar one. I think it was back in May. But it's where the scammers then start targeting the patients and calling them about billing. And they had to shut down their billing department and say, we're not nothing. So they could say, we are not going to contact you about your bill and all that kind of stuff. And that's the part. That's the part. Because
you think about people that aren't in healthcare who like, I don't have anything anybody want. Well, if I know who your customers are and I have that contact information and I know what they owe, I could call them up and say, hey, we're running a deal right now. I see that you owe us a couple $1,000s. If you'll pay half of that, we'll go ahead and clear your invoice out.
Yeah, just give me your credit card number.
Yeah, and it is, they are using Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, which is always, to me, always mind boggling that doesn't send up some type of red flag with people. If somebody's asking you to pay using crypto, I would immediately be suspicious. And I'm not saying every time somebody asks you to pay crypto, it's a scam, but that's the number one way that scammers want to be paid.
Well, and I mean, but they'll steal the credit cards quickly.
Oh yeah.
And then run them up and use them. They will also, I have seen discussions. I haven't seen this like reported in the wild, but you know, everybody's into the ACH transfers. Just give me your bank account and we'll take care of it.
I love that.
And then send me an email with your bank account number in it. Sure, no problem. Here's this Gmail address. What? You know, and people are like, I don't understand what's the problem, you know, why we can't email things. Well, because they get the email account and there's all the stuff. But they figured it out that they can now call up your patients. So imagine, you know, this is ophthalmology and ENT. So the ophthalmology, you know, the eye surgeries and that kind of stuff, you're going to have Medicare patients. Mm-hmm. Medicare patients will fall for more scams if you're nice to them than anybody. Well, most people will, but they target Medicare patients and, you know, who want to make sure they don't owe anybody anything. Mm-hmm. And one that I keep waiting to happen, which I think is going to be, it's just a matter of time, especially now that they are getting the data, is that they not only are they going to say, you know, this will be the triple one. We've locked down your data. Okay, fine. You can restore. Well, we're going to like publish your data. That's pay us this much and pay us this much so that we don't send letters to all your patients. Mm-hmm. Because there's so many ways to do that now, you know, and it's, you know, you can do that automation and generate those and throw them out there pretty quick.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, if you don't notify HHS in time, then we're going to do that too, unless you pay us.
Yeah, we're going to know. You know, that one count where they notified the SEC. It was like you know, so you're going to start seeing them doing this because they're after money. Mm-hmm. And anything they can get you to do to pay them that's what they're interested in doing. And imagine you get, because by the way, everybody's like, well, how are they going to do it? They're going to use the stolen credit cards to buy the postage and to buy the, you know, so, I mean, they can buy the setups they need long enough to get these out. And then you know, that credit card got shut down. They're not paying. Guess what? It was a stolen one. So they have so many ways to get around things. I'm just waiting for one of the, you know, how they now have all of the different, it's like its own little, they have all their departments. This department finds the computers. This department infiltrates. This department, you know, lateral movement, you know, and they all do different pieces. I'm waiting for them to have a mailing service.
Yeah.
You know, email service.
Bob works in the mailroom.
But I mean, you can email, you can send snail mail, and just the thought of that going out. Oh, we're going to notify the press, you know, and here's what we're going to tell them. And we've seen that happen back, you know, the original ones with the Dark Overlord. That got in the news long before there was a notification. So having that happen, that's the part that I find the most concerning as far as a business person, you know, because we talk about your reputation. You want to talk about a bad reputation? Hi, I'm a criminal. I just want to let you know that your doctor's office let me have all your medical records.
That would be pretty bad.
Yeah.
I just called up and they gave them to me.
and by the way, the return address is your doctor's office. So, go ahead. And that is the nightmare that when I brought that up, that's there's the but even having them contact your patients and say, I'm calling you about your bill, and give me your credit card, we can pay it up.
Right.
So it's what they do on that step is going to be the next choke point, if you will, because they're still going to want the money. They're still going to want people to pay them. So everybody should be aware that there is another group specifically going after healthcare. So if you haven't shored up your defenses, now would be the time to shore it up or throw up. Yuck. Get that.
Yeah.
If you think that, we've got passwords and antivirus, that's enough. That's not the world we're in. Just like the quote from the OCR director, it's that more sophisticated cyber attacks they're increasing. And we just talked about how AI is making it easier.
Oh, yeah.
So there's that part. But now let's go over to the next part. Imagine being David, that is the IT provider, or worse, being not David, because David wouldn't. You can tell us how you handled this when you read the article, but imagine that your IT provider did this. Well, go ahead, tell the story, David.
Well, in a nutshell, we're talking about Clorox, so we're talking about bleach. I know we usually talk about breaches, so let's not get those mixed up. But yes, there was a breach at a bleach. Yeah. Okay. So Clorox hires an MSP, and the MSP's named Cognizant. They're massive. They're like one of the largest MSPs out there. So for those folks who think hiring the larger guys is always a great idea, maybe not. So what happened was the criminals, and here's the way I picture this, and I have no evidence to prove it. But I think the criminals were sitting around, probably having some vodka or brewskis, and one of them said, "You know what? I dare you to just call Clorox and just ask to get access. Don't even try to social engineer. Like your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to just simply ask for access and see what they say." And the other guy was like, "Okay, hold my beer." Because they basically just called into the help desk, which was the MSP. The bad guys called in and like, "Hey, I can't get to anything. Like I need a password reset." And help desk was like, "I got you, bro. I'll give you the credentials you need to get in." And it was that easy.
Yep. And there was a policy that said, don't do that. So,
I wonder if they were ever trained on it.
Yeah. And they probably, everybody goes through training. So there was training. So all of the things that people say, well, we have a policy and we train everybody. There you go. Mm-hmm. Now, what happened when they gave them up? When they gave them the password, David? Did they just go, you win another beer? Or did they actually do something with it?
Yeah, they set off a very nasty ransomware attack on Clorox. And so $380 million ransomware. $380 million. That's some expensive credentials.
Yeah, that's what they say it cost them.
Yeah. And so they're getting sued. So the MSP is getting sued because of this. And, you would expect that to happen. There's a lot about this because, it's called help desk for a reason. Like, your job is to be helpful, but not to be too helpful, which is where security comes in. Like, you can't be too helpful. You have to have, things in place. And for those folks who say, well, we hire smart people, I don't know too many people who would say we don't hire smart people. So that's not going to help much. But yeah, you should have either some type of technology in place to help with this, or some type of process to help with this, or maybe both to help, guard against this, because that's absolutely going to happen.
Yeah. So what did you do with your team?
So I think this is a good place to wrap up. I just want to say that for my team, I immediately sent this story out and was like, you guys need to read this. We also covered it in a meeting, and I want to make sure they understand this happens. Don't be too friendly. I would rather some client call and complain because my people refused to reset a password because they were being too cautious than to call in and tell me that we reset a password for a criminal. So your IT folks, if you're an IT person, you should be certainly reviewing this. If you have IT, you should be making sure that they're reviewing what they're doing, how they're handling this. And it could be different for different clients. So if you're an MSP and you got, 30, 40, 50 different clients, hopefully you're not having to handle it 30, 40, 50 different ways, but you certainly want to make sure that you're having some way that you're verifying people so that something like this doesn't happen. So there you have it. It is shore up or throw up, as Donna likes to say. All right, folks, we will see you again next week. Make sure you follow us and share this out to your favorite social media site. And again, remember, for Donna and myself, that HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.